In this episode,
This time, we're going to be talking about pistol caliber PDWs and why those are the best firearm out there whatsoever, because we all know that if John McClane was able to defeat a terrorist organization single-handedly with a PDW, then it's got to be good for everybody else.
See, okay, this is where we're going to have issues. I think we're going to have issues. So.
We're going to have a lot of issues, I think. How dare you talk bad about my MP5 clone that has yet to be shot after a year?
We still haven't shot that yet?
No, we still haven't shot it.
I didn't even know you had one, to be honest. You have.
in an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast.
Okay, hey, thanks for swinging by, guys. I really do appreciate everybody checking the podcast out. Welcome to episode number 2. Naturally, I've got my co-host Jefe here with me. How you doing, Jefe?
I'm here, so not so great. Blink twice if you're okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, I really want to just take a second to not only say thank you to Jim for the intros. We're going to be alternating him with some of the other intros, but also, if you guys listened to the first episode and you're back for more, thank you for that, because we know that the first episode probably wasn't our best effort. Had some audio issues, but we have
Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah, we actually have a legit setup this time. And
thanks again, Amazon.
Yeah, thanks again, Amazon. So hopefully this sounds a lot better. We're going to do constant improvement, but let us know if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, complaints, manifestos, anything whatsoever. We have an email address that you can send those to. They may or may not be answered. Most of them will probably go into the trash can, but we'd love to hear from you anyway.
It's definitely a good place to send your feet pics.
Hefe's
Hairier the better.
Hefe's all about feet pics. So.
Dirtier the better, too.
But I digress. Thank you again for you guys swinging by. We're going to be talking about pistol caliber PDWs and why those are the best firearm out there whatsoever, because we all know that if John McClane was able to defeat a terrorist organization single-handedly with a PDW, then it's got to be good for everybody else.
See, okay, this is where we're going to have issues. I think we're going to have issues. So.
We're going to have a lot of issues, I think. How dare you talk bad about my MP5 clone that has yet to be shot after a year?
We still haven't shot that yet?
No, we still haven't shot it.
I didn't even know you had one, to be honest. You have a closet full of just hot trash, so it's hard to figure out what you do and don't have. Well, I think the first thing to kind of start with is almost defining on what a pistol caliber carbine is, a pistol caliber PDW is, what kind of is the remnants of the submachine gun world. Yeah. To kind of get deep into those life philosophical questions.
So would you consider, let's kind of categorize things first. Would you consider a 357 lever action GAT a pistol caliber carbine? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a pistol caliber, it's a carbine.
Okay, there you go. So
boom.
Would that fall into this realm of discussion today? Or are we saying, no, we're just going to focus in on PDW?
So if you kind of look at the term pistol caliber carbine, it's one of those like very self-defined term. It is a carbine, so you're probably looking at anything from traditional terms, probably anything from like 10 to 16 inch length barrel. We're looking at more of a rifle aesthetics, like think things like AR-9s. You're looking at the Henry Homesteaders. You're looking at the Ruger PCCs. MP5s will probably fall in that category too, because you're taking what was traditionally called a submachine gun and making it a semi-auto platform, and that kind of falls back into that pistol caliber carbine. When you start talking about the PDWs, I think Brass Facts had a great way of describing it. They're more compact. They're usually, he had some maths behind it. I think he said it was like 25 24 or 25 inches
Yeah.
in total length. You should have collapsible stocks. A lot of the features would be I think the big defining feature would be almost a I think it's called a pistol grip fed magazine. So instead of having an MP5 where the magazine has a you have your pistol grip mag well separate. PDW's kind of merging the realm between a more capable handgun. It's like a handgun plus rather than a carbine minus.
Right. So would the Raider be in this realm?
I would say PDW.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, essentially the PDW, based off my 2 brain cells and whatever I can remember of it, the entire premise behind it was to kind of came out during the Cold War era. The PDWs as we know it came out kind of the Cold War era to be a more capable handgun for rear echelon troops to traditionally defeat Russian Soviet armor, which was kind of the level 3. So we're looking at that's what kind of led to the 5.7 caliber cartridge being developed. A lot of companies made about 5.7 PDWs to compete for NATO. I think they ended up. That's how the MP9 became a thing. Was
Yep.
a smaller, like a smaller intermediate cartridge to defeat armor, but it was supposed to be better than a handgun because what's really I kind of think the death of the PDW concept is the ideas. If you're taking a platform that's designed to be a little bit more capable than a pistol that was in the 80s and 90s, or 70s, 80s, and 90s, we surpassed that in our concealed carry. Like the traditional concealed carry gun you think of nowadays far surpasses what a PDW platform was aimed to be, outside of the ability to defeat minimal ballistic armor.
Yeah, so, and just to make sure that everybody is on the same page as far as terms, PDW stands for Personal Defense Weapon. I'd like to say that should be, I don't know, intuitive, but, we may have a lot of listeners that are new, and if you are new, welcome. But realistically, we are looking at something that is small, compact, something that is easily concealable, something that could maybe go into a backpack. Usually, well, not usually, is a pistol caliber, so 9mm, 45.
Or you get some of those weird cartridges that, like the 5.7.
Yep.
I can't remember. I think it's 4.6 is the MP9. I'm going to Google that.
MP7. You confused that the last time too.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. 4.6 by 30.
Which is really, really weird. I don't really understand.
It's expensive.
The concept. Well, yeah, it's expensive. Everything about HK is expensive, and they hate you. The
6 hours going that route, they're going to hate you soon too.
They are, because they already have all the contracts that they ever need, and they don't have to worry about fixing any of their firearms. So there's that. I think we both are probably on the same page when it comes to being extremely critical of 6 hour.
Yeah. Don't like them.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Even if
tune in next time to figure out why I hate 6 hour.
Even though someone could hand you a P226, you'd still be like, get that trash out of here.
I won't say if someone's giving me a free gun. If someone said, here's a free SIG 226, I'll be thank you for handing me a free 226. I think, and I think the hatred for 6 hour is more of a modern thing, not a passing, like a SIG 226, especially if you have like a good quality one that's built probably like in the 90s. It's completely different than someone handing you an M17 today.
What's wrong with the M17?
So many things. But getting back on track.
Yeah, let's get back on track about PDWs.
PDWs. So,
The MP5 is the best there is. No,
I would say
no
that's more of a pistol caliber carbine. So I think it's kind of the same thing it's kind of shown up between like the actual term of an assault rifle, or a machine gun, where you'd have like a standard Army issued M4, and the difference between that and a AR-15. We call those two things very different terms because of the capabilities they have.
Okay.
So, for example, if I took a traditional M4 and pitted it up against AR-15, there's a whole list of things that are different from them. The biggest ones are the burst and or full auto, depending on which model of M4 that you're issued these days. I think they're all retroactively fit for full auto these days, but who knows? But the AR-15 is not, so we call them two different terms. One's a modern sporting rifle. Oh, no, that term is long gone. But we call it. We don't call it a quote unquote assault rifle. It's a rifle.
Sure.
Or a semi-auto rifle, or whatever you want to call it these days. I think that's the same thing when we get to the MP5. On the civilian side, it's more of a pistol caliber carbine. But then if you take an MP5 from any sort of law enforcement agency or federal agency that has the not one, not two, but three different giggle switches, you classify that as a submachine gun, not a pistol caliber carbine.
Okay. So so we've talked about it a little bit, and you were saying that a grip magazine fed style firearm would be more of what you were speaking of. So where does, like, say, the MAC-10 or the Uzi
PWs.
Okay, so you're still going with PDW, even though that there's probably going to be people who's like, no, you have AR-15s that are reduced down and they're like PDWs because they're like 8-inch barrels and 300 blackout.
Well, so yeah, like Dan Defense actually has one. I think it's called the DD PDW or something like that. And it's a 300 blackout. I think it's it's like a 6 or 7 inch barrel. I don't remember off the top of my head. Some guy is going to correct us in whatever chat or whatever comment section that we have off of this. But there's going to be the term PDW used incorrectly. Same thing as, people are labeling ARs as assault rifles. That's two completely different terms. I think once you start getting into a AR pistol, for lack of a better term, where you have these 9, 10, 7-inch 300 blackout pistols with either some sort of folding stock system or a PDW stock system, you're still having a pretty lengthy rifle. It's also going to be about, I think they're like 28 to 30 something inches, still long.
Yeah. And
then they're still big old bulky guys. Now try to take that and throw it in underneath a coat, and you're going to realize that it's pretty girthy compared to if you took something specifically designed to be something designed to be hidden by a coat, a concealed carry submachine gun, for lack of better terms. You're going to find that the platforms designed to do that one specific job are not going to be the same as a pistol length AR.
Right. So then, in your mind, what is your perfect setup? For
a PDW?
Yeah, like if you are going to put yourself into a firearm that meets all of these criteria, what is it going to be that you're looking at?
So the hard thing now is I think the besides the MP7, that's like, that's the easy one to go with. The hard
hot take here.
Hot take.
I don't like the MP7.
Have you ever shot one?
No.
Oh.
And even I don't feel like I need to shoot one. The reason why I don't like them is because of all of this hype around it and how we have to have HK import these into the United States, but it's pretty bulky in comparison to a lot of the other things that we could have. It is in a caliber that is extremely rare. I mean, magazines are
You
probably.
said perfect world. You said a perfect world for me, not,
sure,
not realistic world.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying that even today in the not so perfect world, I'm just not a. I don't get what the MP7 has to offer that you can't get from a P90. You know.
Yeah. I think what the MP7 brings is just a lot of firepower in a very small package. The nice thing about the 4.6 round is, if I remember off, I'm spitballing numbers off the top of my head because it's been a while since I've even played with one. The flush fits are 30 rounders, and then you get like 50, 60 rounders for just the stick mags, so like the traditional stick mags. So you can carry a lot with them.
Sure.
What the MP7 also has that is very unique to that sort of platform is rail space. Now that seems really silly to talk about.
No,
these small little guns. If you take the almost somewhat direct competitors, you have it used to be the Stayer TMP9, but now it's the B&T 9, and you have things like the Mac 10s, Mac 11s, Uzis. Trying to even think of the Flux Raider. I can throw that one in there too.
Yeah.
When you start taking these, I just looked them up, the PP2000, the Russian PP2000s or whatever, PPs. A lot of them don't have the rail space to really mount what. See, this is what's going to be silly too. What a lot of people think that they want on their guns. Think of optics. Flashlights, IR devices, if you want to shoot under nods. Having all that stuff on a PDW makes it bulky and kind of defeats the purpose of having a PDW. But at the same time, if you want to have that capability, there's not very many guns that can have that. I mean, I don't want to invoke brass facts again, but his TP, he has a video of his TP9, and the headache of trying to get a light, an optic, and an IR device on that thing was challenging.
Well, him and Hop just did a video too regarding bullpups and the struggle that they have just with bullpups. And you would think, oh, well, bullpups, you should be able to put something together like that, but they still struggle too. And it actually brings another great question: is does every single firearm that you have that is meant to be kind of a fighting firearm, does it have to be set up for night vision?
And if you have night vision, it should be something that is easily transferable. Maybe that's not the correct term I want to use. Something that you can easily use under nods. Think of something as simple as your concealed carry handgun. Does your pistol optic have some sort of night vision setting on it, or can you dim it down enough so you can use it under night nods? That makes it a night vision capable gun. Is it the most ideal? Does it have a IR laser and illuminator? Probably not. You can buy them; they're expensive and they're not that great.
I don't know. Olight has some IR.
Yeah, no, you would know. You probably have a closet full of them somewhere.
I'm pretty sure my house would have burned down by now.
But you can also kind of fix that pretty easily too. I actually was just looking at these today, and I want to get one and test them out. There's a company that makes a IR filter for a TLR1, so you can just throw that on your TLR1 and makes an IR illuminator. I don't know how well it works, and I don't know if it's any good, but it's...
Yeah, I would think that would be a bit of an issue, as much as the TLR1 is now with the fogging up of the lens. If you don't maintain that light, it's going to get fogged up from all of the carbon.
Yeah, all handgun lights do that.
Yeah, but it seems like that, from my experience, the TLR1 is more susceptible to that for most of the setups that I use, because it sticks out so much further than the barrel.
Yeah. Clean your stuff then. I don't know what else.
No, I'm just saying.
No. Yeah, that happens a bunch too. And that's why Yeah, I don't know how effective that system will be, but that's definitely one of those things where, just to answer your question, there's what a lot of people think when it comes to setting up a firearm for IR use. You have to have like a PEX box with a IR laser and illuminator, and EOTechs, and spend the astronomical amounts to shoot undernods, which those stuff helps. That stuff helps. That stuff helps in the ability to shoot undernods. But as long as your whatever optic that you have on your gun has some sort of night vision setting that is somewhat capable, you should be able to at least do some work with night vision.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's not the best. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to be nailing IPSC targets at 100, 200 yards with a handgun with a hollow sun turned all the way down as well as I could with a rifle that's set up for IR.
Yep.
But that's, again, we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, right.
From PDWs to night vision. But that does kind of translate into the what I think the biggest downfall of the PDW system these days is that the concealed carry guns that we are carrying these days are as capable or close the gap of capabilities that the PDW was designed to have. If you just kind of think back to when the PDW was created, everyone was carrying, if you want to jump back to, let's say, the 70s and 80s, the Colt XM177s were relatively new.
Yep.
Everyone was rocking 20-inch carry-handled M16s. There was still some M1 carbines floating around there. And then you had the 1911 or a 38 Special revolver.
Yep.
And if you take those capabilities and even go into like the law enforcement or to even the more specialized federal guys, they're running, I think, Smith & Wesson 4096s. They're running either single stack, or very few people were running Glocks at that time. But the capabilities of a handgun back then were very minimal at best. Even today, if you go buy your fancy staccatos, put iron sights on it, shooting 25 yards isn't impossible, but it's a lot more challenging for a relatively novice shooter than a staccato with a Acro P2 on it.
Yep.
I think we've started with the advent of the industry focusing on a capable carry handgun like the Macro X's, the 48s, the whatever M&P is making these days. I don't know much about
Shield
pluses with
the Shield Plus. Yeah.
I think that's what they're called
and
now.
You got the Hellcat.
Hellcats, Mossberg has them, Taurus has them. Everyone's coming out with these very capable, high capacity, small carry handguns that are light and optic capable, where you can go out and buy one of these things and be very effective out to 20, 30, 40, maybe 50, 60, 70 yards with very minimal training.
Yeah.
Because it's just put the dot on the target and have okay-ish fundamentals.
So, and I think I see a culmination of multiple different things happening all at the same time. Just like you said, we go back into the 70s, 80s, early 90s, we see a very small spectrum of firearms that had capabilities that could defeat a PDW, right? Mm-hmm. But now like you say, we see not only a wider selection of firearms that have capabilities to do so many more things than what could have been done 20, 30 years ago, but we also see the amount of information readily accessible to a novice shooter that could go and watch, a insert influencer's name here, definitely not me, but, who could go out and, learn something off of a YouTube video, apply that to the firearm that they choose, and still have the lethality of most, if not all, PDWs that were on the market. Mm-hmm. I think that you might have a little bit more accuracy out of, say, a P320 and a Flux Raider than just holding it in your hands, teacup style.
I would call it more of like recoil management.
Oh, okay, that's a good point.
Probably
Yeah.
better.
Mhm.
The accuracy is going to stay the same. You're going to shoot it the same as the follow-up shots. But even then, you're taking a direct blowback handgun. It's still going to, I mean, if you take something on a flux, and this is going to be a caveat. I've never shot a flux rater, but I've shot a lot of direct blowback PDW style guns or even pistol caliber carbines. Those guys thump. They thump pretty hard, and for a 9mm compared to if you had, I mean, a even somewhat properly gas short barreled AR, it's going to be thumping about equal.
Yep.
They were almost taking a platform designed to be held into the ether and work off recoil, and now we're shouldering that. It's just going to thump a little different. I'm not saying that it's going to make it worse or infinitely better, but it's just you're not going to be seeing the as fast follow shot as fast as follow up shots as you thought you're going to be when you throw that flux rater on or something like that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I honestly believe that, like you were saying, with the advent of newer pistols, the aftermarket support on a lot of these newer pistols. I mean, shoot, you're seeing, oh man, what's the new barrel and comp?
Ramjet.
Ramjet, yeah.
Radian Ramjet.
Yeah, so you can put one of those on your Glock. That's going to reduce your recoil by 37.3%. I don't know how they came up with that number.
It's easy. When you install it, the bar for recoil just shortens.
Yeah.
When you look at your stat sheet.
I would just completely made that number up anyway, but
I think actually it's something ridiculous. I think they say it's up to like 40-something%. But yeah, that's what's kind of weird. The amount of game stuff that came out of the competition scene, where you start having handguns with optics and compensators, has really kind of just changed the landscape of what a capable firearm is. Now, if you were back in the 80s or 90s, where
round two,
opening up our carbonated waters, if you're back in like the 80s and 90s, when your concealed carry options were like like a Beretta M9. There was maybe a chance you got a Glock 26. Like even just thinking about that, the Glock 26 was about it, and those things are chunky boys.
Yep.
And then you have a Beretta M9 with NATO standard 124 grain, full metal jacket ammo. And then they say, hey, go off to war with this. You're like, nah, I don't want to do this at all. This sucks. Yeah. And that's why the PDW, I think, kind of reigned supreme so long. And now that you have guys that just in their pants, on their gym shorts, can have I don't even know, like a 5.7 handgun with an optic and a light and 60 rounds and an Enigma system in their gym shorts, have almost, if not more capability than like a rifle PDW or handgun PDW setup back in the 80s and 90s.
So what you're saying is the 1911 is not the end all be all of...
No, 2011 is going to win this war, that's for sure. The date of recording is the 24th of October right now. I know we didn't mention that earlier, so World War III hasn't officially kicked off yet, but we all know that it actually started in 2016.
That's correct. Yeah, that's 100% correct. Well, this actually brings up a really side note topic. But I was I was talking over dinner. I was talking to Nan and was bringing up the fact that we had the rumblings of things that are starting to happen right now, way back in 2019. Case in point, Fort Riley started sending troops to Poland in 2019 as a rotational basis, right? Now, some people would say, oh, well, that was because, we downsized our footprint in Europe, so we started rotating soldiers in different areas of the Eastern Bloc countries. Okay, sure, that's one explanation, but then how is it that, the Crimea situation was still going on at that time, and then we just so happened to start sending soldiers on rotation to Poland, and fast forward a couple of years, now all of a sudden Russia's invading, and then fast forward another couple of years, and the SecDef's like, hey guys, just prepare to deploy to...
So what's really weird living in these times is we kind of lose historical events. What's the analogy I'm trying to use? We lose the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
The trees for the forest, whatever one is we see these events that are happening all around us. We're like, oh, wow, this is a very big critical event. And then we move on to the next thing because we were very short-sighted. And that's just human nature. That's, how it usually is. If you look at, if you were some dude on the streets and watched Archduke Ferdinand get assassinated, you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. I'm going to go back to my bakery and smoke a cigarette. Like,
yeah,
you didn't think about it that much. And then then it's the slow trickle downfall into what led to World War I, then led to the rise of the Nazi Party that led to World War II. I mean, it's these small not small events. It's just the grain of sand analogy. When do you take a pile of grain of sand? When does it become a heap? Mm-hmm. If you take a grain of sand and put it on a table, nothing happens. You put 2 on there. Is it now a heap? No, it's 2. And you keep on adding these one little things, or these one small events, until eventually you look down and like, oh, there's a whole heap of sand here. How did this happen?
Yep.
And it's, there's probably a lot that happened after, Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated that we just don't really think of it as being a catalyst for the World War I leading into World War II. And that's what we kind of see today is, what are we not seeing, and what are we not associating together, like what you talked about 2019. I think it started in 2017, 2018, when the creation of Operation Atlantic Resolve started, where NATO kind of started looking at the United States, like, hey, we need some help bolstering our defenses, and NATO, or the U.S., started the Operation Atlantic Resolve, and we can talk a little bit more about that on a later date. But then you have, so we have that kicking off. Then we have, 2014 Crimea? Was it 2014?
No. 2014. Well, that was the coup d'état.
That was
the CIA funded coup d'état in Ukraine.
Yeah, what do they call it? The Winter of Flames or something like that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a documentary on Netflix on it. It's not that great, but then the takeover. I'm thinking about the invasion of Georgia. I think when Russia invaded Georgia, that was like in probably like 2010. Then we had Crimea. We have all these small events that, 20, 30, 100 years from now, when kids are learning world history, they're going to, it's going to be this one event that they're going to look back at as the catalyst, and they're going to learn the trickle events, kind of like how we learn when we learn any sort of event in school. It's not, okay, now we're going to talk about, the beginning of the Korea War, what kicked off that. Yeah. And we find like one event. It's like this happened, and then led to this, led to this, led to this.
And that brings up, a lot of people look at the Revolutionary War and how the Revolutionary War started and everything. They're like, oh, well, the Boston Massacre, that happened, and then there was like the Boston Tea Party,
and then the Lexington Concord. And
a lot of people don't realize that there was over 5 years span of time between the Boston Massacre and the first shots fired of the American Revolution. Yeah. So there is a lot of things that could have happened in between those 5 years. Yeah. So just from a historical aspect, I've made the comment more than once today is we are watching the fall of Rome in real time, and no one talks about the fall of Rome in a very long, timeline. It's all, the Huns came across and just toppled Rome.
It's a chapter in your history book.
Exactly.
Maybe
right. Yeah. It's, you might get a couple of paragraphs through the entire history of Rome, but we are actually living through it right now. And that's one of the things that's so interesting.
I'm not trying to black pill. I'm not that far yet. I don't think we're at a fall of any society just yet. I understand that we are, that it's easy to look at all the events going on around us to easily take that black pill. It's like, well, it's the fall of society. It's the fall of the United States. It's the fall of the American empire, the American dream. Soon we're going to be all overrun and speaking whatever next language is going to be next.
Sure.
What the next 10, 15, 20, 40 years are going to look like, I don't really know, but I'm not there just yet of the world is going to be a darker, gloomier place because the America has fallen that we know of as we know it.
Yeah. Well, just remember, folks, things are getting dark, but the memes are going to get darker. So,
buy a lot of O lights.
Yeah. Well,
brighten up your day and your pockets.
The biggest thing is when I say, we're watching the fall of Rome in real time, it's from my perspective, it's a meme. It's a joke, it's a joke because I see a reel come across my Instagram feed and I'm just like, this is just pure depravity, and oh, look, this is the one more example of the fall of Rome. So there you have it. We've gone from PDWs to the fall of Rome all in a matter of 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about when it came to PDWs as far as like, let me ask you this. Let's get back on track here. Let me ask you, if let's say that I wanted to set up a PDW, what role would that fit? Is that in your head? Would you say that for a civilian, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you, for me, maybe we're going to talk to your friend. Was it Tyler that you introduced me to just over the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we're going to make a recommendation to him. He wants to get something like that. What role does it fit? Is it like home protection? Is it backpack? Is it the Russians are parachuting in?
Because I've been playing with this for the past couple weeks myself too, because I've been interested in getting something that kind of fits that role, and then in my circle of retardation, I kind of come back to, well, I have a handgun, so what is this going to bring? So the hard thing with the recommending a PDW of any sort is, I think the second you start talking about giving up a rifle, an intermediate rifle caliber cartridge, for a handgun cartridge or some sort of bastard cartridge,
Yeah.
I guess is the best way to describe those ones, like 5.7 and 4.6, is that yes, it's the amount of capabilities you're going to get between your concealed carry handgun and that rifle cartridge. Well, let me go back. Let me rephrase it this way. So if you took hey, your handgun fits this parameters and a rifle fits this parameters,
Mm-hmm.
a PDW, the gap these days between a decently outfitted duty-esque grade, I'm not talking you have to carry like a Glock 34 with your X300 turbo U's and an Acro P2 on it, but a well-equipped concealed carry handgun, be it a SIG or a Glock with an optic and a light, will fit about 80 to 90% of what a PDW would do these days. The only thing you're missing is some sort of brace or stock to at least help mitigate the recoil a little bit. But even then, when you start transitioning into the rifle side of things, you kind of it's that capability of having a stocked pistol is just instantly lost.
Yep.
So if I was to recommend a PDW of some sort, I'd say that's almost kind of like the niche fun gun. When you start getting to the point where you have a good duty handgun with all the magazines and ammo you could ever want, plus more, a good duty rifle setup, that's when you can kind of start playing around that PDW range to be almost a kit gun. It would be something that you would have it in a duffel bag or some sort of dedicated bag. So when you go traveling, you're not hauling your 16-inch suppressed AR-15 everywhere. But when you start talking about a off-body carry gun, a smaller footprint off-body carry gun, just for a little bit extra room, you can start carrying a smaller rifle, like a 9-10 inch 300 blackout with a suppressor and better with lights and optics, compared to now trying to diminish whatever capability that rifle has between the handgun and a rifle to fit in a like a backpack. Roll wise, the chances of there being a armed, like if I had to do like a pie graph, this is like round 2 of talking about graphs. Like we're batting 1,000 right now. We'll talk about graphs in this. But if you take a pie graph of all the bad shit that could happen to you out there a day, getting into some sort of armed conflict is like incredibly minuscule. I'm talking about like percentages of percentages. And now if you take that small sliver of all the shit that can happen bad to you, the stuff that would be not solvable by a concealed carry handgun are now a sliver of that sliver, and the opportunity that you have to go equip yourself with whatever that thing is even infinitesimally smaller. The chances of, for example, you're in the mall with your family and an active shooter starts, you're not going to run out to your car, grab your PCC and try to run back in.
Right.
Because by the time you start going to the door, when the cops are like, hey, there's a white guy with a gun, and they see you running back in as a white guy with a gun, they're going to smoke you. That happens more often than everyone thinks. Everyone thinks they're going to do their 1R1 drill, drop the bad guy, and then the cops show up, start giving them handshakes and call them the hero. More often than not, the hero of the day gets shot. There's this actually happened last year in Colorado. It was the beginnings of an active shooter in a mall, and an off-duty cop ended up smoking the dude, and then he smokes the guy, walks up to the bottom. I wish I had more details on this. I need to pull it up. But he smokes the dude, grabs the rifle, and holds the corpse at gunpoint. Well, when law enforcement's told, hey, there's a guy with a rifle in the mall, and they find a guy with a rifle in the mall, they don't ask, you don't really get asked to put the weapon down. You're like, it's end the threat right now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they shot the off-duty cop that was on their side, but they don't know that.
Yep.
Actually, I'll even give this even more real-world example. A department I somewhat work for, they do an active shooter drill about once a year in the schools, and this year they started throwing off-duty officers in the mix. And the amount of times I've seen off-duty officers get smoked in these scenarios because they walk, they're dropping your kid off at school, active shooter starts, and you start going room clearing with a gun, thinking you're going to be the hero of the day, and some guy that has 1 or 2 years of road experience, has no idea who he's looking for, has never seen you before because you work at a police department, decides to smoke you because you are the target. You're a guy with a gun in a school. That shouldn't be a guy in a gun in school. So digressing back, the chances of you getting into some armed conflict, having the opportunity to retreat back to a vehicle or a hotel room, secure a PDW of some sort, and then make it back into a fight, incredibly short. I think the only real case scenario I can see those being any use is if you're onto a major metropolitan area, is having one kind of nearby in your driver's seat, or just in case something were to happen. But again, now you're talking, now I have a 30 to 60 round PDW, and there's 150 people around my car.
Yep. That actually brings up another great point when you're talking about situations like you're in a mall. Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
You pull out your concealed carry sash. Thanks from brownells.com. Go to brownells.com, look up concealed carry sash. I highly recommend getting the fluorescent orange one with brown lettering.
There you go.
You whip that out and throw it around, and it's pretty much makes you bulletproof. This is a real thing. You can go on. I think they still have it on Brownells. I'm going to Google that real quick.
But realistically, from my point of view, is if I'm walking around the mall, especially with my daughter, my number one mission in a situation where there is an active shooter is to protect my daughter. Once my daughter is protected, then
they removed it.
Oh, they removed it. But once my daughter is protected, then I will assess the situation from there on whether or not I should help out. Naturally, in everybody's fantasy mind, yeah, absolutely, we want to be that guy that is the dude like in Ohio that smoked the mall shooter from 40 yards away.
I was about to say
you know.
Dylan Mulvaney, but that's
Yeah,
not
no,
even.
no,
What was that dude's name?
No.
Dickens. I know his last
Yeah,
name's Dickens
something
because
like-
there's Dickens drill.
Yeah. So, but from my perspective, my number one goal is to get my friends and family out of the get them off the X as quickly as possible, and then assist where I need to. And I can tell you that if I'm already outside of that mall, man, it's going to be pretty tough to get me to go back in there, especially when you have law enforcement on the way or possibly already there. I mean, you're talking malls. Malls are huge.
Huge. They're so big.
So big.
Huge.
But you don't know if law enforcement has already entered in from the north side when you're trying to evacuate your friends and family out from the south, so a lot of different variables to consider. But one of the things that Jeff did bring up is he made a comment about R1R drills, and that is the drill of the episode. We're going to be talking about the concept of why you should or should not do the R1R.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes,
Sorry.
you
I'm
can.
just super upset that Brownells decided to be the bad guys in the situation.
Oh.
And not have their concealed carry sashes still for sale.
Brownells, fix yourself.
Yeah, I know. Like,
how dare you? Okay, back onto
anyways, yeah.
our drill of the episode. We're going to be talking about R1R drills. Should you or should you not actually practice R1R drills? Why are they even a thing? And are they useful? What do you think? Not all at once.
For a beginning dry fire technique, I think they serve their purpose. I think what the R1R1 drill became really popular with, especially when it comes to like the Reddit tactical gear channel, the concealed carry channels, Instagram, was a good way to demonstrate that, one, I know how to rapidly deploy a handgun. I know how to draw a handgun really, really fast, and then reload and reset my trigger and shoot again.
Mm-hmm.
And demonstrate that I carry a backup magazine somewhere. I think that's where it serves its purpose, and that's kind of where the service ends. It's a good dry fire technique, however, and you'll instantly have millions of people type angry comments down on this saying you're teach yourself training scars about, you're going to shoot one round in a real scenario and then reload, which that's fair. If that's all you train, that's what you're going to do. You're going to you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to fall to the lowest level of training that you have, and that's all the training you have. That's what you're going to fall to. So it's a good thing to have for a dry fire. I wouldn't for the range. I wish I remember who said this. It was some guy who's a lot smarter than me, saying you should be getting all your reloading, practicing during dry fire and other ranges for live fire. And you shouldn't be training reloads. You should just be, at the point where a reload is just second nature, and should be at the point where you're just doing small refinements depending on what you're carrying. You're carrying out on a duty belt of some sort, on a plate carrier, or from concealment.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I never understood with the 1R1 drill. Is my first thing is, okay, we have a 1R1 drill. How many rounds am I going to be carrying in my pistol? Because as soon as I draw my pistol, it should not be going empty. That's the number one thing. And then
unless you cannon 1 or you cannon 9.
Oh yeah.
The second
you
shoot,
the
magazine's coming right out.
The magazine's coming right out.
The sample size of one that we had. The second you pulled the trigger on the thing, it shot that round and then yoded the magazine right out the bottom.
Exactly right. So it either induced a misfeed or a failure to feed, rather, or it just didn't feed at all, and it was a click no bang. So good job, High Point. But the other thing too is, all right, so I'm going to reload. Okay, so I pull the trigger and I'm either at slide lock or something happens. I need to reload. I reload and fire just one round. That's not how the training that I've gone through has always taught me. Anytime that I draw my firearm, I fire as many rounds as I believe that I need to stop that threat.
Then +1.
That is not legal advice. We are not attorneys. Do not follow that advice. So that's kind of where I
U.S.
stand.
Concealed Carry Association.
So that's my thing. They're fun. They're fun to do. They're fun to kind of stand next to your buddy at the range and do a 1R1 to see who's faster and stuff like that, and kind of have a little bit of competition between the two. But outside of that, I don't really know if that is. I don't know if there's any valuable training that you can pull from
Dry
that.
fire. That's really about it.
Yeah.
It's a great tool for having a recordable, a data point when it comes to you're recording, so that's throwing me off right now. I like double recording. No, so it's a good data point to have when you're dry firing, so you can say, hey, I started dry firing 5 minutes a day, and my draw from concealment was, 6.420 seconds, but now it's 6.9 seconds or something like that.
That is the slowest draw from concealment ever.
That just depends on where you're concealing, man. Have you seen those flashbang holsters before? Man, those are the ones that go in your bra.
No,
you have to reach underneath your shirt.
I don't wear a bra, so I wouldn't know.
There's a fat joke in here that I promised not to fat shame the host. But no, but yeah, I think that's where the 1R1 really, really, really shines, because it also gives you an opportunity when it comes to dry firing to get more trigger pulls off on your on each repetition, instead of drawing, dry firing, and then doing the resetting your slide if you don't have any sort of cool gadgets to simulate recoil, reset your trigger.
So back to fact shaming and talking about the fitness aspect of it. Everybody thinks fitness is all about being in the gym, lifting weights, going on long runs and everything else. But there's one critical piece that we always kind of overlook, and that is you can do all of this stuff and never lose a pound of fat because we're not eating correctly. So if you guys don't know, Jefe has been my trainer for well over a year.
There's air quotes beside that, trainer.
Yeah, he's not, he doesn't have certificates or anything like that. But when it comes to doing proper forms and lifting and motivation and stuff like that, Jefe has been my guy for well over a year. We're approaching 2 years at this point. But I lean on his expertise quite a bit because he's really living the lifestyle. So as far as a diet goes, what would you suggest if someone were to walk up and say, hey man, I just need to get my diet under control? What would you recommend?
Get rid of soda. That's really about it. Sodas are the devil. Cut back on alcohol intake, and more often than not, you'll see and that's the hard thing too, is it's the first question is what is the goal? This is one of the mentors I had coming up in this whole gym thing. Aaron used to talk about was someone would say, hey, this is what I want. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to lose weight. I'm like, okay, why do you want to lose weight? What's the goal? Like, what's the purpose behind it? If you want to look good naked, do you want to be stronger? Do you want to look more ripped? Those all have different outcomes for what you want. If you want to put on a lot of muscle mass and be strong, you're gonna have to eat a lot. You're gonna have to eat a lot of protein, a lot of calories in to get that mass. It's not gonna be pretty. You're not gonna be, you're not gonna be was Jason Momoa? Is that the guy?
Yeah,
is that
sure.
The superhero dude?
Yeah,
Aquaman guy?
Yeah.
You're not gonna look like him because that's all, very unhealthy dieting habits that they have, and also personal trainers and other unique chemical aspects that help them help them along. So when it comes to dieting, my usual recommendation again is, first of all, cut sodas down or completely out of your diet. You'd be surprised at how much better you feel if you just kind of stick to some basic drinks. Think of simple black coffees and water. If you're going to drink in moderation. Don't make it a nightly thing. Drink light beers or clear liquors.
Vodka.
No, don't drink vodka. That stuff's terrible.
That's great.
That's always a good starting point. And then my suggestion would be is just to clean up your eating first. And what I mean by that is buy things that are buy whole foods and make food. Don't buy food. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Processed food versus actual food
versus it's very easy to go to the frozen food section and get a week's worth of dinner. It's very easy. You can go do that every day. Say, hey, I'm going to get 16 bean burritos and pay $9 for a six pack of party pizzas, and you're gonna eat and you're gonna feel full and you're gonna feel great, but that's not food. I'd say one of the tricks is do majority of your shopping on the outer ring of the shop, whatever grocery store you have. Get a lot of dairies. Don't be afraid of fats. Don't be afraid of meat. You don't have to go to a broccoli, brown rice, and chicken diet to be healthy. You just have to eat food, eat quality food, buy local where and whatever you can, and then avoid sugary, super processed foods. And seed oils. Don't eat seed oils.
Oh man, let me tell you, sugary. That you just said my weakest link is sugary foods. I can give up soda, no problem, if I need to. I might have. I wouldn't say one a day. I would say probably one every 2 or 3 days. I'll have a soda. But when it comes to any type of sweet, I mean, even today I ate relatively clean, and I could tell by the afternoon, my body was like, dude, where's the carbs? Mm-hmm. Why are you starving me from carbs? Yeah. I need some type of sugar in me right now,
So that's another, if you look at any sort of crash dieting is probably the best term to do it. If you're looking at doing something like Renaissance periodization, keto dieting, if it fits my macro dieting, if you're going to do something like that, my suggestion is to find some sort of baseline, do it for about 6 weeks, and then take about 2 weeks off, and then reassess and then try something new. This even in our family, I know we did keto for the past we did it for about 6-7 weeks, actually closer to 8 weeks, and we've been off of it for 2 weeks. And the results between my wife and I are completely different. And it's one of those things where I didn't get the results that I wanted, or let me rephrase that. I got results. I just didn't want those results in particular. And my wife saw great results, so she wants to continue it. Everyone's body responds differently to different things. There's some people that can eat, that have the metabolism that can eat carbs and fats and whatever they want and still maintain a generic level of decent health, if they just add moderate working out with it. Then there's some people that the second they eat a Kit Kat bar, they get 15 fucking pounds, and that's about it. Yeah. So the hard thing when it comes to any sort of nutritional advice is there's no blanket thing you can tell people. Just clean up your eating, get rid of as much processed food as you can, and then start playing around with your macros and figure out what best fits what you are desiring to have. If you're desiring to be the Schwarzeneggers of the world, start buying Tren and ingesting a lot of protein and a lot of calories from proteins from calories from protein. Man, it's a long day.
It's
Sorry.
a long day. Yeah.
Long day. Yeah, a lot of calories from it. We were recording this at like 9:00 at night, and I've been up since 3:30. So, yeah, a lot of your calories come from your protein, rather than fats or carbs. If you are someone who does a lot of long endurance, carbs are going to be your friend. If you're someone who lives somewhat a sedentary lifestyle, oddly enough, low carb, high fat diets are really good for you. So, it's something you have to play with. It's once you start, if you look at this kind of as a progression system, clean up your eating first, get a good base going of what macros that your body likes, and then start playing around with numbers from there.
Yep. So the biggest key is to find something that you're going to enjoy eating. As far as like cleaning up your diet, as Jefe was mentioning earlier, is cleaning up your diet and making sure that you have something that you enjoy eating. I know that back in 2019, I trained for a fight and had to cut a lot of weight very, very fast. And it was, like he was saying, that broccoli, rice, and chicken breasts every single day for just about every single meal. And I could tell you that it got old really quick. But what I did find out is that salsa is your friend.
Well, so that's what a lot of people, that's why a lot of dieting fails really, really fast, is that's what they think that's the ways, being a very disciplined mindset where you only have 3 meals or 3 to 4 meals a day. You have the chicken, brown rice, and broccoli, and then you can be strong for a week, maybe a week and a half, and then you start adding your cheat days in.
Yep.
And you start, it's like, well, I'm still seeing results with a cheat day here or there, and then eventually it starts collapsing, and then you don't want to do that anymore. So,
and then it's a birthday, and then it's a half birthday, then it's Halloween.
It's Halloween into Thanksgiving into So, the better way to look at it is, find something that is sustainable. The best way to describe a weight loss journey, if you're just looking for straight weight loss, is it's not a straight line from whatever your goal weight is, or from where you're starting to you're finishing. It's a mountain pass. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. There's some weeks you're going to lose 3 or 4 pounds. There's some weeks you're going to gain 5 or 6. As long as you're continuing to go down the path and try to do as best you can on your journey, you're gonna see the results eventually. It's just going to take a lot of hard work and dedication. Yeah. And there's sometimes that you are going to have to do the chicken, the brown rice and broccoli. For me, right now, for me, it's intermittent fasting, high fat diet with a lot of red meat to get to kind of what I'm trying to achieve in fitness, the fitness world. So most of my lunches are just a pound of hamburger.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what my meal prep is right now. Is I think it is a vegetable medley with quinoa and ground turkey.
Sounds vegetable.
No, it's actually really good. I've got some really good meat seasoning that I've thrown on there. It adds a little this is the things that you guys miss from the podcast, but the expression on his face. But it adds a little bit of salt into that, a little bit more, and then it helps me drink a little bit more water throughout the day as well. So that actually wasn't too bad. I've really enjoyed that so far. And then earlier this month, the month of October, when we're recording this, I was able to harvest a deer. So that's going to be some really good lean meat as well. And hopefully there will be several more that I'm able to harvest to fill up the freezer for the rest of next year. But there's our take on diets. It's not something that is very specific. If you guys have specific questions, definitely send an email to us, and we can either address that in a future episode or, send you an email back or whatever the case may be. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. We've gone over our hour, but it happened from time to time. So with that being said, Jefe, as always, I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds here, or at least give you 30 seconds to say whatever you want, dad advice or however you want to end it out.
Oh, so we kind of hit our male audience. We're going to do it twice in a row, batting 1,000 again.
There we go.
For you guys, like real talk, real quick, stop watching porn. Just stop watching it completely. The amount of damage you're doing to yourself, you just don't recognize it. The damage you're doing to your relationships, it's just bad, man. So find yourself a good, as I said last week, or last time we recorded, find yourself a good woman. You won't need it at that point.
There you go. Last 30 seconds for me. Man, that's kind of hard to top. I don't know if I can top that right now. But I will say, I don't care what kind of firearm that you carry on an every single day basis, but number one, carry every single day. Make sure that you've trained with that firearm. Make sure you're proficient with it. You know how to shoot it well, reload it, and defeat any type of malfunction, and be ready for the fight each and every single time it
Carry
comes to you.
tourniquet as well.
Oh yeah. Medical. Don't forget medical. So with that being said, that is going to end episode 2. Thank you guys so very much. As mentioned before, several times in this episode, we do have an email address. You can also find us on Instagram at live-laugh-larp_podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much all that you can.
You can find me at Jefe_actual, at Jefe_actual.
There you go. Instagram at Jefe_actual. You got fit_fire for
Forgot
me.
there for a second.
I know, I did, yeah.
I forgot my name.
I forgot my name. Oh, you can also find me on Instagram if you guys want to check out some videos. And
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, yeah. So thank you guys very much for joining us this time on episode 2. We are going to be launching podcasts every 1st and 15th of the month. So dropping the first 2 this time, and then episode 3 will drop the 15th of November, and on and on and on from there. So thanks again, and we will catch you guys next time. And as always, don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. See you guys later.
In your girlfriend's basement.